Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. We're going to call this meeting to order. This is the Audit Committee of the Gainesville City Commission, and we have all of our members present and accounted for, so thank you to Mayor Pro Tem Sacco and Member Monk for being with us today. With that, we need a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved.
Motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion passes. First order of business is approval of the minutes from June 15th, 2022 Audit Committee. Any additions, corrections, or is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second to approve the minutes from June 15th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion passes. All right, our first business discussion item today is the Citywide Cybersecurity Audit Phase 2. With that, I will turn it over to our auditor, Ms. Bigby.
Thank you, Mayor Poe, Audit Committee members. I would like to introduce Diana Ferguson-Satterthwaite to speak on this audit. We also had an audit consultant who could not be here today from Crow. So a senior consultant helped to lead this review. And while Diana's coming up, we did a cybersecurity audit in 2020, and the public version of that report mentions our audit objectives and scope, which included governance, framework alignment, emerging risks, and staffing. This year, you'll notice in your audit committee report, you don't get to see a lot about scope and approach or findings because those are considered security issues. So we reviewed the detail very carefully with management, and we gave the public as much as we comfortably felt could be given to the public without compromising security.
Very good. Thank you.
So Diana?
Good afternoon.
Good
Mayor,
afternoon.
Committee members. Can you go to the next slide, please? Next one, thank you. So we did the cybersecurity audit to provide an independent assessment of the city's cybersecurity governance structure, the adequacy of policies and procedures, and the effectiveness of internal control. The review included an assessment of the design and operating effectiveness of controls relating to the city cybersecurity program for the period January 1st, 2022 through to August 31st, 2022. Next slide, please. Thank you. The potential and recognized cybersecurity threats facing organizations like the city are rapidly changing and evolving as attackers become more sophisticated. Therefore, organizations need to identify and assess cybersecurity risk proactively. Since the last audit in 2020, the city has made efforts to mature its cybersecurity program. However, as hackers target municipalities and new legislations are enforced, the City Auditor's Office conducted a Phase 2 audit to continue assessing the cybersecurity readiness of the city. Next slide, please. The city adopted the NIST cybersecurity framework for its cybersecurity program. NIST integrates industry standards and best practice to manage cybersecurity risks. For this audit, we modeled our audit using the NIST framework. We also utilized the cybersecurity maturity model in conjunction with NIST for this audit. Next slide, please. The NIST framework has 5 key functions: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. During our assessment of risk, we utilize the same approach to assess the financial risk, the harm to employees and or neighbors, and the effect that malicious attack or inability to timely identify and recover from incidents would have on the city. Next slide, please. At both the state and local level, new legislations have been implemented to address cybersecurity issues. For Florida, we have 2 recent statutes that were signed in June of this year. The Florida Cybersecurity Statute and the Local Government's Cybersecurity Statute. These statutes requirement includes prohibiting states and local government agencies from paying ransomware demand. There is requirement for basic training for employees and advanced training for professionals and employees with access to sensitive information. There's also a requirement to adopt cybersecurity standards to protect our information and resources, and these standards should be based on frameworks such as NIST. Next slide, please. Another requirement is the reporting of ransomware incidents and cyber incidents. For cyber incidents, the reporting level are those that are at 3, 4, or 5. Ransomware incidents should be reported within 12 hours after discovery, and for cyber incidents within 48 hours. Local governments will also be required to submit an after-action report to the Florida Digital Services within 1 week of remediation of a cyber or ransomware event. Next slide, please. And in terms of current events, one of the most publicly known recent acts was the Collodion Pipe in 2021, where the hackers steal data, infected the IT network with ransomware that affected computer systems, including the billing and accounting system. Collodion Pipe had to pay $4.4 million to get that decryption key to regain control to its system. In terms of what's happening globally, the CrowdStrike report 2022, they highlighted a 82% increase in ransomware attacks relating to data leaks in 2021. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. And what this chart is depicting is the difference in the number of incidents, attacks. For 2020, you saw it was 1,474 and a big jump to 2,686 in 2021. Next slide, please. As our city auditor indicated before, we have identified opportunities for improvement, and these are common across similar organizations in terms of size and complexity. However, pursuant to Florida statute, we won't be providing you with details during this forum. Thank you. I'll return you to City Auditor Ginger Bingay.
All right, thank you, Diane. Ms. Bigby?
Thank you, Mayor and Audit Committee members. We also have TC Kelly from Management that would like to share a few words. Do you want to ask questions first or hear TC?
No, yeah, let's go ahead and bring up TC, and then
Okay.
we'll see if there's any questions at the end.
All right, so can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, good afternoon, Audit Committee members. So TC Kelly, I'm the Enterprise IT Strategy and Governance Director. So here just to provide a quick update on IT governance and cybersecurity and risk management at the City of Gainesville. So currently we're focusing a lot of our efforts to develop and implement internal controls and standards that mitigate risks with the way technology is used here at the city. So one example of that, and something we've done very recently, as in probably the past 6 months, is a vendor security risk assessment. So it's really just making sure that we put forth effort and due diligence, basically making sure that we do proper risk assessments on the technology vendors and third parties that we engage in before entering into a contract or an agreement. So, at times we entrust these vendors, third parties with the city's data and information. So we just want to make sure that everything's above board from a security standpoint, and they have proper security certifications before we enter into a relationship. So that's just one example. Also mentioned in the audit report, you heard there's new changes in Florida's State Cybersecurity Act. So those did go into effect July 1st. So what this ultimately does is requires tougher cybersecurity standards for government. So it's going to mandate annual security awareness and training. It'll prohibit entities from paying or complying with ransom demands. There's also new requirements for reporting security incidents, and agencies must also adopt a cybersecurity framework. So we have a pretty good understanding of what all these entail. We're currently working to make sure our incident response plans are updated. We're rolling out security and awareness training for employees who access the city's computing environment. And then we're also shoring up our disaster recovery plans for how we basically restore and bring back up mission critical IT systems and services in the event of a disaster. So those are ultimately our top priorities right now. And I do also want to mention that the IT department will be promoting National Cybersecurity Awareness Month in October. So we're going to be rolling out security training. And we're also going to host virtual sessions with guest speakers and activities all throughout the month. So there's going to be a lot of good information on best practices to help our employees stay aware of the different types of cyber threats that are out there. And, I just encourage everyone listening in or in person, all staff, to please join us as we promote this month and try to shore up the City of Gainesville's cybersecurity posture. So thank you.
All right, thank you, TC, appreciate that. Let's go to Commissioner Sacco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you all. This is kind of hard to audit when you also have to hide half the things and then present to us while still not showing everything. But I do have one question I think it can be answered openly. As far as the trainings that will be offered, the lawyer side of my brain goes offered or required. So I wanted to know, is there going to be some accountability to require the completion of this training, or is it something that we are going to offer with a carrot? What the process really will be for that one versus just offering? If management or Ms. Bigby could answer.
Ms. Bigby?
Sure, thank you. Mayor, Commissioner Sacco. Yeah, the training is going to be required. So the training will become more robust and there will be a required training element. So they're working with learning and development on how that might happen, how to roll it out, how to track when people take the training or not, and then what the follow-up would be if they don't do the training timely. In addition to that, the training that already exists, they will be continuing to make that more robust, and it continues to evolve as cybersecurity attacks evolve. So they have a good plan, but the required training is an element they're working on.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Moe?
I just had one question, because I couldn't find it clearly pointed out or spelled out, but I assume that during the past year there have not been any indications of cyber attack against the city of Gainesville. And I don't know if you can answer that first.
Mayor, audit committee members, I could not answer that, and I don't know if management would make that public, but I can find out for you what they would consider public, and I can get back to you on that.
Because the number of cyber attacks that are indicated are rather frightening if you think of the consequences.
Two quick questions. One, a follow-up from Commissioner Sacco's question. With the new legislation that went into effect July 1, is the state assisting with that education and training? Like, are they putting together some modules that I have confidence in our professional staff. I'm thinking of cities like High Springs, I mean, we have almost 500 municipalities in the state with different levels of resources. And so I'm wondering if the state is putting some materials and resources together that we might be able to use that will help that, so we don't have to, you know, start from scratch and do this all on our own.
Thank you, Mayor, Audit Committee members. Yes, the Florida Digital Services is requiring some type of reporting to them, especially after there's an incident, so they have requirements for that. And they're also themselves required to assist municipalities. So our management is plugged in and they'll leverage whatever they need to leverage. But I think we can expect those state rules to change a lot in the next couple of years as they're trying to get things established. So they're tuned in, and we're also tuned in. So if we hear of an update, we let them know, but they seem to be aware of everything coming through the pipeline. But they're definitely aware of being able to leverage what the state is offering, for sure.
Okay, excellent. Is it on that point, Commissioner Suckin?
Similar? That's a follow-up.
Yeah, good.
So I'm going to be a little bit more blunt than the mayor. I think we were trying to get to, is it an unfunded mandate? So is the assistance they are willing to offer technical or financial?
TC might have a few more words on that, but I believe it's technical. I haven't seen financial assistance except where they might provide resources to do something.
Okay, thank you.
How helpful that will be has yet to be determined.
Thank you. TC, did you have anything more to add on that point?
Yeah, so I do know that the state of Florida is putting together the curriculum for the training as we speak right now. So we went down to the FLAGISA conference here about a month ago, and the state CISO was there. So many questions surrounding cybersecurity training and awareness and what these new requirements would bring as part of this new law. So they're still kind of figuring out as they go is kind of what I took away from it. But they will offer funding in the form of some grants that we could potentially look at. We also already have a training platform that we could currently use. We just got to make sure it satisfies the state's requirement and the curriculum that they're seeking. So we can do that once that's, fully defined. But we already have a training platform by the name of Novaport that we use in-house already. So basically it's just making sure it meets the requirements of the state, and then we can move forward with rolling out the training. I hope that answers your question.
It does, thank you. I think I would just then ask management to follow up on some of those grants to see if we qualify for it. Cybersecurity is important, but it's also, training is expensive much more when it comes to tech training. So staff could just keep following up on any opportunity we have to tap into that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The other question I had, I'm kind of making an assumption here. I want to make sure it's not erroneous. I think a lot of times folks, especially that don't live in this space, think about cyber attacks as some incredibly elegantly designed piece of malware that finds a backdoor into the system and then sort of takes over. But I think unless the trend has changed, it usually somebody opens the door for them. Somebody that's an employee for the city, or even somebody that we contract with, responds to a phishing email or something like that, and then that's what allows entry to be gained. And so I know that a lot of our efforts have been focused on how our employees identify potential, not just malware, but scams and just other points of access or interaction that are not appropriate or part of their professional responsibilities, and in that they have responsibilities to bring their supervisors' attention to anything that they might think could potentially bring harm to the organization. So is that where a lot of our efforts are focused, or is it more on the back end and building up sort of more sophisticated firewalls and sort of technological barriers to entry for what could be a ransomware attack or something like that?
Good question, Mayor, Audit Committee members. It focuses from both directions, and one purpose of the audit is to make sure one area is not falling behind. So, management is looking at all of those areas, and we can't go into details of phishing campaigns, but most employees need those phishing campaigns. You might get tired of them, but they're really critical because, as you mentioned, that's usually how the bad guys get in. They can move laterally and they can trick people into giving up their network credentials, and sometimes the fake websites look exactly like the real website. So the phishing campaigns train people on what to look for that's suspicious. Then there's also the training behind the scenes. What do you do when you have an incident? What's your disaster recovery? All of those things require training as well.
Okay, very good. That's helpful. Yeah, and I always appreciate when we get them, because I know that 2,400 other people are getting them as well, and it keeps us alert to what the current threats are. Okay, well, there is a recommendation that we forward this to the City Commission for their consideration and approve the update on the Phase 2 cybersecurity audit. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Member Monk, seconded by Sacco, to forward this to the City Commission for their consideration with our approval. Members of the public that wish to speak to this item? Mr. O'Brien.
Hi, Commissioner Sacco, Member Monk, Ms. Bigby. Appreciate your letting me speak at this point. Mr. Poe, I'm glad you brought up the fact that there's two sides of this, the inside aspect of security in the city's systems and also the external aspect of it. What we have learned so far in evaluating your financial problems at the city is that most of the problems in the city are created on the inside of the system. And your old accounting system was wide open. Nobody knew who the users were that were accessing top-level information. It was like a sieve. Anybody could log on from anywhere. And my understanding from recent reports are that the new ERP system has been installed so poorly. 3 years after this project started, you're now hiring more consultants, more experts, buying more software to try to fix the shambolic job the city did of installing it in the first place. One of the problems that's been identified is that you still don't have the system locked down. There's not a button-down security from the inside of who the users are that are accessing the data and have the ability to make changes. So I appreciate you highlighting that. I think Mr. Monk's point is a very good one, that even though this is a very confidential and sensitive audit, the public deserves to know if there are breaches happening and what type of breaches they are, so that there's some accountability to the monies that you're pouring into the system as to what level is the security now. And your ability to release that information you've proven over your tenure is unparalleled. You could release it right now if you wanted to. So the idea of, again, putting someone off who has a good faith question is unacceptable. Answer the question. Let the taxpayers know what's going on with their cybersecurity. Thank you. From the inside and from the out.
Okay, Ms. Bigby, was there anything in there that needed addressed or corrected? For example, can anybody access anything from anywhere at any time?
Not that I'm aware of in Workday. So there's a user access management review being conducted by Purvis Gray. We haven't seen their report yet, and we'll talk about that momentarily. So as management is working through the external financial statement audit, working with the new ERP, they are correcting issues as they find them, but it was never wide open. It was always established with controls. And then the cybersecurity incident, so like data breach where data was stolen, that has not happened. But incidents where there's attempted attacks, I don't know what that count is, but we can be sure that there's plenty of them. And I can get that from management.
Okay, so it's something that is part of the normal day of business that these attacks come in, but there's been no breach, or nobody has sort of gotten past our established security protocols or firewalls. Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else from the public wish to speak to the item? Okay, back to the committee. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, up next, our next discussion item is the ARPA Grant Compliance Audit Phase 1. Ms. Bigby?
Thank you, Mayor, Audit Committee members. I'd like to call up Brecca Anderson, who will be presenting this audit.
Hey, Ms. Anderson, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Committee Member Monk. So good to see you all. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, we did complete an audit, a review of ARPA grant compliance, Phase 1. We'd like to thank management for their participation during the audit. Okay, during this audit, what we looked at the design of internal controls for ARPA grant administration program and for select elements. Next slide, please. For our scope and approach, during this audit, we did look at the design, structure, and operating effectiveness over eligibility, allowability, and reporting processes. And within our approach, we looked at governance, which includes the reporting, eligibility, and then allowability, meaning how the funds will be used. Next slide, please. This handy dandy little picture here kind of shows our in scope. And as we mentioned, this is Phase 1 of the ARPA audit. And within Phase 1, we looked at the allocation of ARPA grant program funds. We also looked at some of the ARPA grant program administration development, how management is developing that program. We're going to continue to look at that in our future audits. And we'll also look at the ARPA grant program use of funds, because funds were, just getting going. So we didn't look at that in this review. Next slide, please. Okay, as many of you know, you all have been involved in this as the commission. In March 2021, the American Rescue Plan Act was signed into law. And we know that the program was established to support local governments, just like ours, so we could respond to economic and public health challenges as a result of COVID. Okay, that's just to help, the community and businesses that were suffering because of the events that we've all lived with over the last couple of years. We at the city, we were awarded a little bit over $32 million in ARPA funds, and we received the first tranche last June and the second tranche this past June. Next slide, please. According to the agreements, the program funds must be used for costs that were incurred after March 2021, and the costs must be obligated by the end of 2024 and expended by the end of 2026. And we know that these funds just can't be used. However, the funds must be used for eligible purposes, which are prescribed in the final rule. And in order to facilitate the ARPA funds, management established processes and for the administration of the fund and to how we're going to allocate the funds. Also, all these decisions weren't determined in a bottle. All right, so the city launched public discussions, and there have been on and off a lot of discussions about how the scope and also the eligibility and how we can equitably impact the community. Next slide, please. Okay, so we know that the city engaged Government Services Group, also known as a GSG, and the Community Foundation of North Central Florida to help out. They are consulting firms. They came in and they're helping out with ensuring that we're meeting our eligibility requirements. There's a long list of things that they do to support management. They're looking at governance. They helped with the application process with the nonprofits and the selection of the nonprofits programs. Also, the City Commission, we know that the City Commission approved the list of programs to receive the SLFRF grant funds this past July. And during this time, management prioritized identifying, selecting, and awarding funds for the nonprofit programs. The city looked forward to ensuring we could get some funds out, award some funds to help the community as we continue to look at how we're going to expend the remaining $32.4 million. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a really nice picture here. It shows how we're allocating those funds, how we're going to help the community. And if you look where the black arrow is, it pretty much delineates what I just talked about with the aid to nonprofit agencies. This is where management started off during this process, and they, just kind of hit the ground running with that to try to make sure we identify programs that will help the community and get the funds out to the nonprofit agencies. Next slide, please. Here are a list of the nonprofit organizations who received the awards. It's also located in the appendix of the actual final audit report. I think there were 36 total. Next slide, please. Okay, results and conclusions. During our review, we did know that management has made significant efforts to administer and manage the ARPA grant program. They created an ARPA program manual to help guide their activities, created a subrecipient agreement template that was reviewed by GSG to ensure all the elements were there to ensure that we're looking at and requiring what we need to require to meet the requirements of the program. Submitted timely quarterly reports to the Treasury. We know that's an ongoing process. This is a multi-year grant. Utilized an equity toolkit, which was kind of part of what we talked about earlier. They did utilize an equity toolkit when selecting nonprofit programs to see how we could better serve the community. They established an ARPA action committee, which consists of city leadership to assist with guiding the program. So like I said, this is not being done in a bottle. Management, there's a lot of collaboration to ensure that we're doing what we need to do to meet the requirements of the final rule. Last but not least, they conduct project status update meetings with departments because some of the money is going out to nonprofit agencies. Some of the money is being spent with oversight from departments. And so departments are required to meet and provide status updates where management gives them feedback on, yeah, that sounds good. No, that may not make it. Things like that. Just making sure they're administering the program properly. Next slide, please. Okay, we did have one low-risk audit issue that we, in our results and conclusions, we know management developed the ARPA grant manual. It is under development. It does have a lot of good information in it at the time of our review. We did identify a few key elements that would help if it was included in, as they continue to enhance it, if they'll look at these and just include these as well. Our recommendations. Number one, expectations for expenditure review and project eligibility documentation, just documenting how we're determining which projects or programs are eligible and how we're going to review to ensure that we're meeting the requirements of the final rule. Key internal controls around ARPA project budget transfer activities. That's just ensuring we have a requirement to ensure that any funds that are transferred between the grant funds or up or down, however you go, we have to ensure that it is in alignment with the requirements. We do not want to claw back from this grant. ARPA grant program management oversight and monitoring, just ensuring that we have, this is not saying it doesn't exist, this is saying including it in the manual, just that there is oversight and monitoring of the program. Key program activities and key roles and responsibilities around program reporting. That's just saying who's doing what, when, and how. And then last but not least is ARPA grant program manual should also reference the grants administration manual. There is a grants administration manual out there that provides a lot of good information, but the ARPA grant manual will provide more specific information for that manual. There are a couple of things that instead of repeating it, just kind of directing towards that. Okay? All right, thank you so very much, and I'd like to turn it back over to Ms. Ginger Bigby, our city auditor.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Bigby?
Thank you, Mayor, Audit Committee members. I believe management and advisor to management are here if they would like to speak to the audit.
Yeah, absolutely. Ms. Curry, anything you want to add at this time?
No, sir, available if you have any questions. Ms. Cynthia Ramos and I are here, just in case you have questions. We believe we're on our way. We realized there was a lot of anticipation, not only from the commission, but from the community in terms of getting the funds out. And we did, of course, have the support of GSG, Government Services Group, to help us in terms of knowing what was happening across other cities and counties, to make sure that we were not reinventing the wheel. And so they've been very helpful, but we believe that we have a good base point, and we appreciate the auditor's office for coming in and just giving us some additional guidance and support going forward.
Great, so management agrees and will work on implementing these recommendations, mainly sitting around the manual?
Absolutely.
Okay, very good, thank you very much.
Yes.
Questions from the committee? Mr. Mount?
In looking at the listing of the distribution recipients for the city's portion that they received, $32 million, is part of your oversight requesting or demanding external audits on these organizations? And if so, is somebody reviewing those documents to see if there are any findings that might raise concern about giving $750,000 to an organization?
Yeah, if I might, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
We're not requiring external audits on them, but they are obviously subject to being audited by the city. And so when we actually entered into the agreements with them, we actually went through the requirements and the fact that they would be subject to, and in many or most of those meetings that we had with the subrecipients, we actually asked our auditor to just be on those calls just for information purposes so that they knew that that office would be looped into the review of that programming after the fact, after that agreement was signed and they went off to actually conduct those services. But they are aware that they are subject to the audit.
And Ms. Bigby, can you add to that?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Audit Committee members, and City Manager. I'd also like to add that we will, in future phases of the ARPA internal audit, be testing expenditures, where the program is just getting started. And then our goal is to identify any problems, if we have any, before the single audit, for example, would audit those larger programs. So I think all of the recipients are expected that they will be audited, at least internally.
Ms. Ramos, would you like to add to that, if anything? I'm not sure if there's any more. Okay.
And I believe too, and correct me if I'm wrong, all of these organizations are registered as nonprofit agencies, most of them 501c3s. I think they all had to be 501c3s, I believe.
That's
for our
correct, in order for them to be eligible.
which have to submit an annual audit already as part of their state requirements. And so they do have annual audits on file. And then I think our role will be more what Ms. Bigby said, going in and doing some testing on the specific expenditures associated with the grant to make sure that they are being properly spent on the things that they applied for the money for. Ms. Ramos?
Cynthia Ramos, Special Advisor to the City Manager. The nonprofit organizations were vetted by the Community Foundation, and part of that was a review of their financials and to determine if there were any audit issues of that review of those financials that would be flagged to the city, but we didn't have issues like that in that program.
Anything else, Mr. Munn?
No, I just would feel more comfort if it was a requirement that somebody, probably out of the internal audit office, was required to at least review the report that's prepared, because many of these I know are audited and have audit reports. Some I don't think do, but if there are, somebody should be responsible for reviewing and signing off that nothing significant was identified that would cause a concern for the next tranche.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, understood. Yeah. Ms. Ramos, Ms. Bigby, any response to that? I think we understand what Ms. Monk is asking.
Right, we can work into the process. We're just getting going. I think that we are more than halfway through getting all of our subrecipients under an agreement.
I don't believe we released any money to any not-for-profit at this point, so no money has been released. So we're early in the process, Mr. Monk, and we will be happy to work with the auditor's office to just try to make that check that you've referenced there.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Saka?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I could be misremembering this, but I have a memory of a discussion about these grants and that they would be refunded after the expense was made. That it is not.
It's a reimbursement. That is
Yeah, it's a
correct.
reimbursement, not a proactive, here's $750,000. So
That is correct.
to Mr. Monk's concern, I don't think you're gonna blow like $750,000 if you then can't prove it after, what I would consider extensive auditing almost of those expenses being valid to the project.
We've had several organizations with large amounts, Mr. Monk, that you've mentioned, large amounts of money that have wanted to not comply with a reimbursement basis, but have the money outlaid on the front end, and we've said, no, it has to be done on a reimbursement. We're not making exceptions for anyone.
Yeah, I've been on the other side of it, so. I know what can and can't happen.
Okay, valid point, absolutely. Thank you. Ms. Bigby?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioner.
And I just wanted to add, that was one reason for this early phase audit is management's program setup. So thinking of a second line of defense, they are reviewing the reports before the reports get filed. They are going to be looking at expenditures. So we were making sure
That they had the elements that we expected to see, then the next audit, we'll test the effectiveness of that. And we can certainly look at reports, but if management is doing an appropriate and thorough review of the reports, then we could do less substantive testing.
Okay, very good. So there is a recommendation that we approve this Phase 1 report for the ARPA grant process and recommend the report to the City Commission for their consideration. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Okay, we'll open up to members of the public who wish to speak to this item.
First, we have Joe Beatty.
Good afternoon. You just recommended, the motion is to recommend this to the City Commission for their consideration, quote unquote. Is that correct? That's the motion?
To approve the report from this committee and recommend it to the full commission for their consideration. That is correct.
Okay. So I hope that you are going to put that on the regular agenda, not on the consent agenda, because the consent agenda presupposes that you're just going to approve it in one fell swoop. And it should be on the regular agenda, so not only the City Commission knows what's going on, but so the public knows what's going on. So I just hope that that is implicit in this motion, since it's for their consideration. And it's hard for them to thoughtfully consider anything when you just do it on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else wish to speak to this item?
Brian O'Brien again for the record. Again, I would like to thank Mr. Monk for understanding the complete process of how grants and awards should be handled. The city, I'm not sure if you have studied the past accounting, sir, but the grant administration has been shambolic. Millions of dollars have been kited around improperly, and there still is not a complete accounting for all of these grants. There was no grant coordinator when I started looking into these matters, and the city was never responsive to my public records requests. We've got the same thing going on now. I have public records requests sitting on Ms. Curry's desk that she never even responded to. So your insistence shouldn't be sloughed off that these things be audited in detail by your very competent internal auditor. The second point that I would make is that the reason that the government put the ARPA grants out there is because there's such an emergency need in the economy because of the pandemic we've gone through. And your city manager just testified that you haven't distributed any of the grant money to the people, the recipients that have been agreed upon. Now, I have no problem, obviously, I'm a very cautious person financially, with you setting up requirements, but it's another one of these things that little fella running this place tends to do, is just hold on to cash so that he can use it to help balance his books.
To whom are you referring as
people-
the little fellow who runs this place?
The people of the city of Gainesville need the money. So I would appreciate you distributing the money to the people who are in need. Thank you.
To whom were you referring as the little fellow who runs this place? Because that wouldn't be me. I don't run this place, and I'm not such a little fellow. Kind of
Then why
a
are you in-
rotund fellow.
Why are you interpreting it to mean you, sir?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. You are non-specific, so I'd like to know.
I would like to know why none of my public records requests get answered. I have a lot of questions, like.
So that's called
Where are your
deflection, so you
financial
just clearly
statements for the
don't feel like
past 3
answering
years,
the-
sir?
you clearly don't feel
Why
like
don't you
answering
have
the
a
question.
financial statement?
You can have a seat,
You have
sir.
no audited
Mr. O'Brien, you can
financial
have a
statements.
seat. You can have a seat.
You wanted to ask me some questions.
No, you're deflecting. That's a classic misdirection that abusers use.
Just like you twisting what I said
Okay.
about the lack of security
You can have a
on your
seat,
new
or I'm
ERP
gonna
system.
recess this meeting and ask for control to be brought back.
I'm glad to sit down. You asked me. to
Okay,
go back
please.
to mine.
Yes, but you didn't answer my question. So if we could stop the name calling, if we could have a little modicum of decorum, if we could act like a professional and a decent human being, that's all I ask. That's all I ask.
You're the guy that lost $1 billion
Um,
of the people's money, so don't ask me, sir.
So, Mr. O'Brien, I'm going to recess this meeting to let you get your cool for a little bit, and then I'll call back to order in 5 minutes. Because you are preventing the orderly running of this meeting. You are preventing the orderly running of this meeting. You're being disruptive and disrespectful, and that is not something I'm going to tolerate in these chambers. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Okay, call this meeting back to order. And I believe that we took public comment on that item, so we will go back to the committee for a vote. The motion is to approve the report and recommend it to the full city commission for their consideration. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Up next, our third discussion item is the auditor's quarterly update.
Thank you, Mayor, Audit Committee members. First, may I introduce our newest staff member, Peter Damaris, Staff Auditor.
Welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Mayor, Audit Committee members, Mr. Monk. As stated, my name is Peter Damaris. I am the new Staff Auditor for the Office of the City Auditor. I'd first like to thank the City Auditor, Ginger Bigby, for the opportunity. I'm elated to be working with her and my esteemed colleagues. They've been extremely welcoming and helpful as I transition into this new role. In less than 2 years, I've gone from a temporary employee for the Public Works Department to a full-time employee in the Solid Waste Division to now a staff auditor. During that time period, I've also made Gainesville my home, so I look forward to giving back as much as Gainesville has given me. Thank you very much.
Wonderful to hear, and congratulations on your journey. I hope it continues for a long time to come.
Thank you very much.
All right, welcome. All right, Ms. Bigby.
Thank you. I always have as one of our first slides the citywide strategic plan. So that is just a reminder for us and for the public, the areas of focus. So if you could go to slide 4, please, Marie. So we are focusing our efforts this year on general government financial services, employee vacancies in the yellow box on your slides, technology upgrades, and organizational culture. And this is what the City Commission has committed to assisting management with working on this year. For work in progress, we have 2 audits in progress. One is the RTS limited scope review. This review emanated from an investigation that was undetermined if we had an equity problem or not in the disciplinary activities. So we spoke with management and decided to gather the electronic data, go through the manual files, do an analysis of all the data, and just trend it over time and see if there are any indicators of issues that management may not have been aware of. If we identify process improvements along the way, then we will recommend those in the report as well. We are in field work. I believe Diana and Peter will be going out there for the next couple of weeks to start doing their data analysis, which starts with gathering all the data. That's the most time-consuming element. We appreciate management's time and accommodating us over there. All right. The next audit that we are in planning, so we're just getting ready to do our business process walkthroughs. This is the G5 Public Records Policy Compliance Audit. So this is making sure that internally all of our staff are complying with what the policy requires when it comes to responding to public record requests timely, charging fees if it takes more than 15 minutes, and just making sure that we're consistently applying those policy requirements. The continuous auditing, P-card travel expense, and payroll transactions that we want to get going, we put on hold at the request of management just until January. So we will build that project and begin those analytics starting early January. The next 2 slides, the ERP user access management review by Purvis Gray. These haven't changed. They just said that they will not report until the ACFR, the consolidated financial reports, are presented. They will present their technology findings at the same time. So Purvis Gray presented this at last audit committee and nothing has changed. Periodic monitoring. Mr. T.C. Kelly already spoke a little bit about their data governance plans and as they pertain to cybersecurity. Data governance and cybersecurity are two separate programs. There are some overlap in technology, but they involve different stakeholder groups. So we continue to monitor enterprise data governance. We don't have an audit on the audit plan yet, but we will talk to all of you, talk to management this fall to see if that's something that we may want to put on the audit plan for next year. Meanwhile, they continue to make great progress. IT conducted their strategy workshops for data governance and IT governance. We just finished the cybersecurity audit, and we continue to look for policies governing the use of surveillance technology, privacy, data protection, and steering committees. So steering committees over information technology and over data governance would be separate steering committees because the stakeholders are different groups. And we're not quite there yet, but that's where we're striving to be. All right, the Culture Corner. We have the reminder of the 5 recommendations out of the culture assessment. 1 has been closed, and management has provided an update on the other 4. So I believe Ms. Laura Gretz is here, to HR Director, to speak on these updates.
Great, Ms. Gretz, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the Audit Committee. My name is Laura Gretz, HR Director. Happy to be here today. So with the culture assessment, there are still 4 items that management is working on. It's on the next slide. Do you need me to advance it? I can do that if... Oh, good. I'm still not that rusty. Hold on.
I think they have to do it.
I think Marie has to do it. Sorry. 1 more, please. So you'll see here the 4 steps listed in bold, steps 2 through 5. So step 2 was around leadership training. This continues to remain in progress. The Learning and Organizational Development Division of our HR department is working on developing a variety of courses to make available to our supervisors, managers, and above. And we're hoping to make those available throughout the city in the next 6 months. The policy management framework item, we have a policy subcommittee team that meets on a regular basis, and they've gone through and made some modifications to our policy that guides us on how we make and approve policies, and then of course house them and distribute them. We have some revised language that we're bringing forth to the charter officers, and that will take place during the next quarter. Our internal conflict resolution, so we've continued a Train the Trainer training series where we've brought in someone to teach many of our employees who have signed up to learn about conflict resolution, and then as a result of receiving that training, they will also be able to serve as trainers to our other employees throughout the city. We just offered some courses for that back in the summer, in June and July of this year. We have 4 additional courses planned and a specific course geared for management that will be coming out over the next 3 months. The final item is around employee suggestions. There's been a great deal of work done by staff already, doing some brainstorming and speaking with internal stakeholders about ideas for what that might look like. Those ideas have been presented to the charter officers, and now the discussion is around next steps and how we go about implementing those suggestions that have been brought forth. So that's our update. Any questions? Ms. Bigby?
Doesn't seem like any right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gretz. Next up, we have audit issue follow-up. Next couple of slides, please, 1 more. And I'd like to call up Brecca Anderson again, who manages our internal audit issue follow-up program.
Thank you. Good afternoon again, Mayor Poe, committee members. Okay, so you all are familiar with the flow chart. And the flow chart, it basically shows our process for following up on open audit issues, how when management completes remediation, they contact us, we go in to verify whether it's remediated effectively, if there's enough evidence to prove so. If it is, then we mark it as closed and let you guys know quarterly, okay? Fantastic. Next slide, please. Okay, this is our chart that we maintain quarterly to kind of depict what audit issues are open, closed, or on hold or reopen. So we do have, since our last audit committee, we do have 1 audit issue that's closed. We do have 7 that remain open. We have 4 that are on hold,
And there are 2 that are reopened, and I'll go into further detail about that in just a moment. Next slide, please. Okay, I'd like to just applaud management for successfully closing this audit issue, the Department of Sustainable Development. This is from the 2022 Compliance Audit Report for the Colliers International Contract. Issue number 2, insufficient contract administration procedures. Prior to us completing the audit, management decided to end the contract with Colliers, but we proceeded, of course. So the action plan was management will determine whether city real estate services will be managed in-house or assisted by a third party like it was with Colliers at the time. And management will establish and document centralized procedures that govern city real estate services, which includes acquisition, disposition, and leasing services. So we actually went in and received evidence from management that management determined that they wanted to have assistance from a third party. An RFP was issued in May. There were no takers, no proposals received at that time. So management is working with procurement to identify another approach to getting some proposals for real estate services. And during that time, while they're working on that, management is administering those services right now. And then also, we did see evidence of management creating procedures. And these procedures guide the city real estate services, which include contract management, conflicts of interest, management of the acquisition, dispositions, and lease activities. The procedures also say who's going to do what, when, and how for real estate services. And we did verify they're participating in that and received evidence of emails and just activities cross-functionally to ensure that that is being covered. Next slide, please. Okay, open audit issues. All right, we do have 7 open audit issues. 2 of them are confidential in nature, as you'll see highlighted in red. So I would like to discuss the gift card audit, which has an open audit issue. I would just like to note that, we've had changes in finance, the personnel in finance. So the responsible parties will be updated for that, or for who will be responsible for providing us an update and implementation activities, excuse me, on that open audit issue. And this audit issue is due on December the 15th. Next slide, please. Audit issues on hold. These are 4 audit issues that have been placed on hold because of the standing up of the Financial Services Division in HR, just with the staffing shortages that we've had there. We know all hands on deck for ensuring that things are shored up. And so we have agreed to put that on hold until that time has been decided and agreed upon between City Audit and the City Manager's Office. Those 4 are citywide succession planning, GPD, property and evidence, cash. It's audit issue 1, but it's a portion of number 1, which is related to the financial services. The other portion of number 1 related to GPD was closed. The third one was a compliance audit report. That's from the report I just spoke, but this is relating to the financial for the billing and all of that. And then also, the last one is the General Government Internal Control over Financial Reporting Audit. Okay, next slide, please. Audit issues reopened. The following audit issues failed validation and were reopened with revised action plans and new due dates. Okay, this is referring to the 2 remaining open audit issues from the affirmative action plan audit from 2019. These 2 audit issues were originally due June 30, 2020. We've extended, we've had some turnover in personnel in the Office of Equity and Inclusion and in HR, so we've extended it, and then now we have reopened it because it came to a point where it was due and it's not completed yet. And so we do have those 2 audit issues, and we have been working with management and anticipate hearing back on getting that one closed out. And so the revised due date is the end of this year. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you so much, and I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Bigby, our city auditor.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Brecca. All right, for fraud hotline and investigations, we've had a few new cases. 5, we seem to be right on track for our normal cadence. 3 are open right now. Actually, 1 is open because we've closed 2 since this was published, and 4, so now we have 6 that are closed. All right, external audits, please. We included at the request of the Audit Committee and City Commission to provide an update of any external audits that are impacting the city. So the first slides that we have are for the Florida Auditor General that reported in January 2022, and they provided us 18 findings. So management is providing updates starting this June 2022. This is their second update. So on slides 28, 29, and 30, you will see the updated management comments of where we are at, GRU and general government, for those 18 findings. You'll notice that all have been started. There are now 3 or 4 that are completed. In June, we had only 1 completed, so we are making progress. Do you want to go through any of those individually?
Anybody on the committee have any questions about any individual items in that? Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Bigby. So just on the chart, I know you said 3 or 4 might be finished, but the chart was, the chart that we have is from January. So has, other than GRU, the GFT and the Riker House, which are the other ones that have been completed since then? I'll manually check them off.
So this chart is not from January, and another person asked me that, so on the next time I report, I will make the dates clear when the update was provided. It's the audit report that was January.
Okay.
The first management update was June, and this is the second management update for September.
Okay.
And the ones that are completed are checked in the completed column. And then we have one that has 2 checks because the GRU portion was completed and general government is in progress.
Okay, I see it now. That's the 4th one. It's just very small.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I will add that date and make it more clear next time. Okay.
Okay.
All right. The next slide, 31, is the external audit from Baker Tilly for the utility. The September 30th, 2021 audit had no findings. They are now in progress for the fiscal year 2022 audit. And I believe they'll be coming back in for field work January. I believe they've already done their midterm field work. Then we go to the next slide,
Madam
which
Clerk,
is,
I think we're on page 32. Yeah, thanks.
oh, sorry. Marie, to page 32, please. That's the utility. And now we're on slide 33. This is the general government financial statement audit. So the only summary we have right now is from fiscal year 20, which we've reviewed at length. The fiscal year 21 audit is in progress. We won't make the September 30th deadline as we originally thought. So the external auditors are now working with management on what that date will be. So that as of today, they don't quite know what that date will be because the external auditor also has other clients. But we're getting close, and management continues to make great progress on updating errors and systems and giving the external auditors all of the data that they need to complete the financial statement audit. Do you have any questions on that one?
Go ahead.
Okay. On slide 36, we're getting to wrap up, and actually that is it. We have our next audit committee meetings. I would like to mention that we brought back the Florida Ethics Commission attorney who provided the excellent ethics training last year. So he's coming in on December 7th. Hopefully the parting commissioners will attend and the new commissioners can attend also. And it is open for officers, directors, and board members as well as the commissioners. And then December 13th is our last audit committee meeting for 2022.
Excellent. So Madam Clerk, I would just ask that we make a deliberate invitation to all of our especially our quasi-judicial board members, as well as the commissioners and mayor-elect to come to that. And I think more than anything, we need to know if we need a little bit more space, if we're going to have lots of those board members come. It's an excellent, I mean, the last time that, I don't know if it's going to be the same attorney, but the last time they came, he was excellent. We had some great conversations and some hypothetical questions. And so I think especially for those folks coming in to service that this is all new to, including our quasi-judicial board members, really can help them approach their job with a level of comfort, knowing that they have some pretty rigid requirements to follow when it comes to their ethics and responsibilities for reporting and things like that. So anyway, Madam Clerk, if we can just, and I'm happy, it could be a letter from me or from the clerk inviting them to attend those, but the further in advance so people can get it on their schedule, the better. Commissioner Saka?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Bigby. To follow up on the mayor's, it was amazing. I loved it. I personally benefited quite a bit from it. I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was only 2 or 3 hours of training last time. It was 2.
2.5, yes.
Split the baby. It did not feel like that much time. I'll speak for myself. The American, it went by really quickly while learning. So I think my one ask would be, since we had so many questions at that point, and this one will be a much larger group, if it'd be possible to extend the time that he would be available, just because I think we benefited a lot from our local hypotheticals that we have questions about or uncertainties. So if he is available for a little longer, I would recommend making it an hour or so longer, just to give that opportunity to the new commission and our board members. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, even if we were able to set 4 hours aside, that would actually fulfill the requirement, the state requirement every year, which might be nice for the elected officials and quasi-judicial board members. But it depends on their time. We want to be respectful, and I know that he drove in here, so we'll work with that. But I agree. I felt like the clock ran out when there were still good conversations to be had, and learning to be done. So if that works out, and we can schedule it for 4 hours, that'd be awesome.
We will try. We asked for 4 initially, but we will try if we can get longer than 2.5. Thank you.
Okay, good. I can perhaps provide some local sustenance that might excite them, staying longer. One of our many great eateries. Okay, any questions from the committee for any items from the quarterly report? Mr. Monk?
Just a couple of small things that I had. In the management update, item AG finding number 17 on P cards, there's a comment that any active employee's card will be canceled once reconciled. How long does it take to reconcile, and are there any that have not been, where the employees are already gone?
Can you tell me which slide you were on? Because we didn't actually start the P-card audit yet, so I'm trying to follow.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I've got page 30 on the Auditor General section.
Oh.
Finding 17.
Finding 17.
Sorry, without a page number, I'm flipping through all of these.
It just says any inactive employees' cards will be canceled once reconciled.
Ms. Bigby, it's the Auditor General's report.
I've just got to those. So
I apologize, I didn't get the slide
That's okay.
copies.
And we do have management that could maybe add something, but normally when P cards are closed, then you reconcile it, meaning you settle the account, you settle any transactions that were out there, they pay back anything that might have been personal, which is not allowed. So all of that is reviewed, then the card is closed out, and the cardholder's account then has to be closed with the bank.
Okay, so there aren't any old.
Are there any old right now? I
Yeah,
would have to ask management.
Unreconciled issues.
I don't think it.
And back to one of my pet peeves, confidential. Why would an audit, this is on page 20, open audit issues. Why would any audit issue have a confidential due date?
The reason why we mark them confidential is because when we have a security audit report, such as the badge and key access audit or the cybersecurity audit, which are the only two that are on here right now, as you see in your public report today, it doesn't say exactly what management is doing wrong because we don't want to give a path for the bad guys to come straight in and know where to attack us. So those audit issues, therefore, cannot also be in the updates because then it's saying exactly what's wrong with our security.
The due date, it says?
Oh, the due date, I'm sorry. So, yeah, we could put the due date in there if you would like that. I didn't know you were just referring to the due date.
I was just referring to the
Okay.
due date because it'd be nice to know if
Oh, sure.
it was supposed to have been reported 6 months ago and
Yes, sir.
still hanging.
I think we can do that. That should be no problem at all.
And I have one other question, or not so much a question, but I guess in line with previous comments I've made. If you look at the internal audit plan that you've got and the audits that are ongoing and on hold, you've got 5,150 hours of audits ongoing. Based on my quick calculation, you don't have 7,000, you've got about 7,000 hours available if everybody's 100% busy. I don't see how you're going to be able to wrap up those that are in progress within the next year.
So we manage our budget by knowing how many hours that we have for a 12-month period, and then our audit plan is projected out about 18 months. So when you see the number for how many audits that we can do in 12 months, that's why our audit plan is prioritized with the highest priority being at the top. If that changes over time and we want to, over the next year, tackle another audit, then we can put that at the top. So right now, we can turn around about 2 audits and manage all of our investigations every quarter. If we have more staff or we hire more consultants, we can do more. So if there is a high priority, we could certainly hire a consultant to help out with the project. So it's been working as planned, the budgeted hours and then the audit plan looking out 18 months.
Well, please understand I'm not being critical.
Oh, no.
I know how hard it is to complete everything, within the time allowed that you've got. But if you look at the totals, you've got total audit and ongoing internal audit activities, 12,260 hours. Internal audit team available hours, 8,400 and,
So that's because we have a 12 to 18 month audit plan, so we look at about 18 months. The audit activities show us what we do in 12 months, so all of our ongoing activities is hours estimated for 12 months. The 8,000 is what we can do in a year, but then the audit plan is looking out about another 18 months. So it tells you what we can and cannot do in a 12-month period and what we have lined up beyond the 12-month period.
well, what this tells me is that you still need more staff, and I would encourage
Okay.
the city commission to, take whatever steps are necessary to try and bring you to full staffing, because you're only going to get further behind every month.
Yes, sir.
And I think, this needs to be better, and I won't say managed, because I think you're doing a great job managing it. But we need, the city needs this work done to work its way out of some of the criticisms that have been levied. And as long as you're this far behind, it's going to be tough.
So may I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I guess we never looked at it as being behind, so I think, are you asking that you would like a more aggressive completion time?
Well, I wouldn't want to put you on the spot of having too short a time, because the worst thing you can do to an audit plan is to provide an inadequate time budget. So, you know, that would be fine if you can do that, but I just think that right now, this just tells me that y'all are overworked for
We do feel that
the time
sometimes.
that you have.
We are turning around audits every 3 months, which most of our peers do not turn around audits that quickly.
Right.
But I think the commission then would need to decide, do you want to put more resources in internal audit to do even more audits per year, or what cadence do we actually want for the city? I understand.
And just one last thing. In the audit work in progress section, you state, and this is dealing with the RTS audit, the first report will be presented at the September 6th meeting.
No, this will report in December. We're in field work now. We just got it started.
Okay, I just
Did I make a
reading, the first
mistake?
report will be presented at the September 6th, 22 meeting.
All right. Thank you. I will note that error and we'll
Just
update that.
If that was just a mistake, that's fine.
Yes.
I was curious about the report. Oh, that's on page 8.
Okay, we'll make that update. Thank you.
And Ms. Biggie, I just want to ask a follow-up point of clarification from Mr. Monk's line of questioning there. So I just want to make sure we're all speaking the same language. You budget a 12-month period. So let's just hypothetically say there's 10,000 hours available in a 12-month period. And so if we look at the audit plan and see 15,000 hours of audits that are in the plan, that extra 5,000 is because you're going out an additional 6 months. So you'd expect to see 50% more hours necessary to cover that audit plan, because we're always looking at sort of what's next after these things close. And if something closes early, you can bring the next item on board. And so I feel like that's the discrepancy that I was hearing from Mr. Monk's math there, is that if you look at, you know, there's 12,000 hours necessary to complete the audits in the audit plan, it should be more than your budgeted amount of time, because it's a 12-month audit with an 18-month audit plan.
Right.
Am I hearing
Yes,
that correctly?
That's correct. And it allows you to be a little bit more agile. Emerging risks are a factor. Sometimes audits get added during the year if there's some emerging risk that needs to be addressed, or the audit committee asks for it. And then we do our annual risk assessment activities September, October each year. So then the audit plan might get restacked again. But we track those very carefully. So if anything comes off, it's a very formal process. And if anything gets added, that's also very formal. But just having what happens in some of the old school ways of doing it, you would have it exactly 12 months. So then auditors would audit for the year. They get down to the last month and they don't have the next year's audit plan. And so then you waste time because the audits aren't in planning. So we like to have a rolling plan that looks out 12 to 18 months. So
Okay.
right now, we have about 18 months worth of hours on the plan.
Right. But only 12 months budgeted, because that's the fiscal
Right,
year, right?
right.
I mean, that's, and I'm not, and that's not to disagree with your point, Member Monk, that they could do more with more staff. That's always the case, right? And so I think that's a good conversation for the auditor to have with the new commission when they go through their strategic planning and look at what are their priorities and how do they want to allocate, you know, scarce resources, and is that something that they want to, you know, consider? You know, but that's a sort of different, that's a longer term strategic question versus the sort of
No doubt.
plan right in front, and sort of what resources you have and whether we're keeping on track with that. So I think that those are all good questions.
May I ask one more
Of course.
question? When we do our risk assessment activities, normally we do our annual audit report in December, But this year, if we do it after January, we can also take into consideration the new elected officials. So we'll still do our risk assessment activities, but we'll need to include then the new folks in the January timeframe, if that works.
I mean, I think that's really important, right? You're going to have 3 or 4 brand new people, and I think just look, a lot of people run for office for a lot of different reasons, and almost none of them is the audit plan. You know, I haven't heard anybody out on the campaign trail talking about taking a deep dive into the audit plan.
They
So
don't know what they're missing.
they don't know what they're missing. They don't, and that might be a winning platform. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons that people run and then they get elected and realize the job is a whole lot more than those specific, goals and ambitions that they had when they ran for office. So I think something like delaying that a little bit to bring those 3 or 4 brand new people on board and help them, understand the role of the audit committee, of the auditor's office, and the value that adds, but also give them a significant amount of input into what that plan looks like moving forward. Because ultimately, they're the ones that are going to have to be responsible for it. They're the ones that are going to have to approve it. They're the ones that are going to have to amend it if it ends up not being the priorities, of the new commissioners and mayor. I think that is not only a good idea, but an important modification that needs to be made. And you're going to have to work with the clerk's office because they are going to be deluged with a lot of things the minute they take office. There's just a lot. They're going to get right into budget. They're going to get right into strategic planning. And this will have to find a way to fit in there. And it's important that it does, right? I mean, it sort of underpins everything else that we do. I would absolutely work with the clerk and, find a way to get that agended and discussed. And of course, you won't know who the members of the audit committee are until I don't know when you'll be voting. I mean, it'll be the mayor and the mayor pro tem. I guess you'll find out the mayor pro tem on swearing-in day on January 5th. I don't know, Mr. Monk, if you're planning on continuing or not. I would hope that you would, but that's certainly your choice and prerogative. And so even just scheduling the committee meetings and getting people up to speed will take some time. So I think that's important to start working on that transition now. Absolutely. Because you might have you'll have at least 1 new member. And perhaps 3.
3, perhaps 4.
No, of this committee.
Yeah.
Of this committee.
Nah.
Okay. Well, thank you for the update. I really do appreciate it. Looks like we're on progress. So that's good to hear. If we could, I know that you do have that P-card audit forthcoming. If you could get a management response to Mr. Monk's question, that can just be a memo to the committee and copy the commission on that. Sure. When that's available. Okay. And then we can have a quick update at the next meeting as well. But I think if you get it in memo form, at least we could get that answer sooner than later. Thank you. Commissioner Saka?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't think we have a motion yet.
Nope, go ahead.
Cool. So I'd like to move that we approve this report and recommend it to the full commission for their consideration.
Okay, motion second that we accept the report and forward it to the full commission for the consideration. And then also, if you don't mind adding to that, just so there's clarity, that we'll get a management memo back for an update on the P-card question that Mr. Monk asked.
That's good for me.
Fine with
we
you?
can
That's good.
add
Okay.
a memo on P-cards.
All right, members of the public will speak to this item. Ms. Beatty?
Good afternoon again. Joe Beatty. A couple of questions and and one may not be. First of all, the ethics training, is that held and open to the public?
It was last time, yeah. It is. It's a public meeting. It's a notice meeting.
It's a notice meeting. Is it recorded and televised?
That I don't know.
Well, I would suggest that it should be, because I think it's important for the public who wants to know what the ethics are, and that, so we can just do our duty in oversight and, know what's kosher and what's not. So I would ask that that be not only open to the public, but that it be televised and recorded, or at least recorded. Could you get to the slide about the open items? I was just confused, and if you could maybe give me a little more time to allow them to explain. There's the chart, and it says how many items are open and how many are new. I don't know what slide it was. I don't have the backup in front of me, but I just had some questions on that. If you could pause my
24.
time while
Yes, sir.
I'm getting
Slide
an
24.
answer. It was a chart that
I'm sorry, that's the hotline.
Brecca did the presentation.
18.
Okay,
18.
okay. I'm just, that was the slide I was looking
That was the
at. That one.
hotline. There you go.
Okay, I'm just unclear of what remains open today. I don't know if this is cumulative or, I don't understand it, and I just would like some explanation so I could understand. If you have one today, and 8 3 months ago, and 6, and is that a cumulative total that there's only one remaining, or do you add those, or I'm just trying to understand the chart.
Yeah, we'll get you at the end of your minute here. We can answer that.
Okay. The other question is, and I don't know if this is not the appropriate place to answer it, I'm very curious about this, the real estate, and looking for real estate consultants and that. What I understand from the real estate people I deal with, the city has got a lot of expertise among the staff, and you have real estate attorneys and that. So it's not really clear why you need a consultant. And, the people I deal with said it didn't make any sense that you had colliers and they get commissions and all of that. Somebody brings you a contract, or you say you're going to sell something, you've got real estate attorneys and that. So I guess, and if this is probably not the appropriate place, I'd like to know how I get information on that.
Sure. Yeah,
And the
that's
public
more
gets
of a
information on that.
management policy question. But for this, we can't answer the question about this chart. Can you update? I know there's actually updated numbers from this chart as well. But can you explain the whole sort of
Just
3 month
tell me how to
quarterly
read it.
process?
Yeah, sure. And then I think, based on your question, we'll add a total open audit issues at the bottom just to make it more clear. So there are 13 total open audit issues, and that's counting confidential, each confidential audit as one.
So you just add down.
Except for the one closed one, it's no longer open. So it's the 7 plus the 4 plus the 2 that are open today in the first column under 9.6.
Okay.
So right now, today, there are 13 that are open. They're considered open, on hold, or reopened. Anything
So you
but
read
closed.
it down, not across.
Yes, you read it
Okay.
down. And we'll
I
put a
just
total
wasn't
of it.
sure if that was cumulative. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, next speaker, please.
Thank you, Brian O'Brien, for the record. Yeah, I count 13, and that's one of the points that I wanted to discuss. I think that Mr. Monk had a good point that Auditor Bigby's doing a fine job, but I've seen this with so many other departments where management just swamps the system and the people can't keep up with all the work. The auditor said that management has put these audits on hold, and Mr. Monk's point is a very good one. Some of these audits are critical. There are 3 years worth of financial statements that don't exist. April Shuping told us that this year's financial statements would be late, and that the prior 2 years were unreliable and incorrect. Now, one of the audits that's on hold is the general government internal controls. So when the auditor says that management has put it on hold, I would like to know, who is that? Who decided to take the most important aspect of financial accounting and put it on hold? It's just ridiculous. And these P cards, there's one city employee that's already died as a result of the misuse of P cards, criminal charges, and a drug-out prosecution by the state's attorney. These two items are critical because there's a lot of money sloshing around. And last time I was here, we talked about fraud. How does anybody know there is no fraud? If you have no financial statement for the last 3 years, how would a person know? There's at least 13 that are on the books, and the ones that have been put on hold by some unknown management put them on hold are critical items. So I would appreciate it if you would get to that. And I'd like to know how you can make a budget later this week and shove all these tax increases down the citizens' throats. One of the items that management has already put on there, Mr. Monk, is to cut positions from Ms. Bigby's office. So, the facts aren't adding up here. We have a problem. And the question I would really like to have answered is, what date was the FY21 financial statement transmitted to Tallahassee? It was late, June 30th. Then we were told it would be September 30th. Now we've been told it's not going to happen September 30th.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
How
Thanks
could
for
you
your
make a
comments.
budget
Thank you very much.
and increase people's taxes?
Is there anybody else from the public signed up to speak to this item? Okay, thank you. We will then move back to the commission. It's a motion to approve the quarterly report and forward to the commission for their consideration. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Bigby, your entire staff for preparing this quarterly report, very helpful, as well as the rest of management that works with you to make progress on these. Okay, up next, our next item is general public comment. Anybody wants to say anything that was not on our agenda today may come forward and do so at this time. Welcome.
Once again, Joe Beatty. The Attorney General's Office has recommended that public boards and commissions take reasonable steps, such as moving a meeting to a larger room to accommodate those who wish to attend. Mr. Mayor, this coming Thursday's special meeting, you will be approving an ordinance with multi-year GRU rate increases through 2027. You have the authority to move the location of that meeting, correct?
It's already been noticed for this room.
Excuse me?
It's already been noticed for this room.
You do have the authority to move it to a larger venue, correct?
No, it's already been noticed for this room.
So you don't have, you're
Correct.
saying you don't have the authority to move it?
Not now, no.
Okay. So you will not commit to moving the meeting, even though it's of interest, and there are a lot of people that are both interested and will be impacted by your decision, and you're saying you will not move that meeting?
The meeting will go forward as scheduled.
Will go forward in this room with limited,
Correct. The People's Chamber, yes.
in the People's Chamber with limited seating?
It will be broadcast so people can follow along at home or on the internet or on Facebook.
Okay. Will you allow me to attend tomorrow's agenda review?
Is that for our next two meetings? Yeah, anybody can attend that.
In person?
It's all virtual.
Your agenda review is,
Yeah, it's correct.
are the commissioners who attend the agenda review, are the people in a room,
They're in some room, yes. I don't know.
but none of you are in the same room?
Correct.
None of you? And,
I can only speak for myself. I've been in a room without anybody else in it, yes.
okay. And so we can attend? Is there public comment at that meeting?
No.
So we can attend virtually, but we cannot comment.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, Brian O'Brien for the record. I just am mystified by the fact that, Mr. Poe, you are kicking this down the road to the next council because the financial mess that exists currently mostly is a result of the leadership of this current council. So to talk about things happening next year and just kick the can down the road is unacceptable. The public records request laws are very clear in the state of Florida, and I'm glad to hear that Ms. Bigby's going to audit those because these items sitting on Ms. Curry's desk, she decides not to respond to them at all, is totally unacceptable. The audits on hold are totally unacceptable. They need to be completed. Cutting her staff is totally unacceptable. The December of 21 is when the city hired Carr Riggs, issued a purchase order for $50,000. Have Ms. Shupin come in and attempt to excavate the situation that's created under the current leadership. I put in public records requests directly to Ms. Bigby, which evidently she never got. They're still unanswered. I would like to see the billing to Carr Riggs and Ms. Shupin. It turns out that I never got any response to that, but here the records have now come into the public venue. Another $150,000 is being paid to Carr Riggs. Ms. Shupin told us that they have thousands of auditors. Those were her words back in April. But we were trying to be resourceful with the city money, which we all appreciate. But they have the horsepower to come in here and straighten out the books. And $200,000 has already been spent, at least. And I think it's totally unacceptable that the city just keeps rolling on, let you skate out of town, not knowing what's in those books. Thank you.
Ms. Bigby? Ms. Bigby?
Thank you, Mayor Poe, Audit Committee members. Just like we said in June, there are no public records requests in my bucket from my office, and we always respond immediately. For Mr. O'Brien's requests for the last year, all of them are marked as complete, and one is marked canceled, which there appears to have been a fee request, but those weren't from my office. So if one gets sent to me and it's for financial data, I'm not the owner of the financial data, so it has to go to accounting and finance to fulfill the record per our policy. So if Mr. O'Brien wants to follow up on that canceled request, it's 199-2022.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Any member comment? Okay.
Wait, could I just, there was one question I asked and you didn't answer about the real estate contract. I asked you if it was not the